Guys, welcome back to Lemphalation. This is Jovita here, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing my experience appearing for the PTE examination. So I appeared for this examination in Melbourne, Australia last year in December. So I'm going to be talking about how the experience was like, how did I prepare for the exam, what the exam ambience is like, and also how I was able to score a 90 in all 4 components. If this video does help you out in some way, please don't forget to give this video a big fat thumbs up and also subscribe for more such videos, and it would also help me to push myself to make more videos for you guys. And yeah, if you'd like to know more about my experience, then please keep watching. Firstly, I'm going to be talking about the cost. So the cost in Australia, I don't know about other states, but in Victoria the cost is about $375, and in India I guess it's about 11,000 Indian rupees. Yeah, the cost keeps changing every year, so you'll have to check when you're going to be enrolling and paying the fees. So yeah, that's the approximate cost I paid for the test. Secondly, speaking about the time duration, the test is mainly set for 3 hours. There's 4 different sections that you get tested on, so that's speaking, writing, reading and listening. So these are the 4 sections you will be tested on, and the overall test is supposed to be 3 hours, but it depends on you and your personal preparation as well as your speed during the examination, and how much time you dedicate to the first section as well as how much time you dedicate to the last section. You start off mainly with the speaking and the writing section, followed by the reading, and after you complete the reading section you get a break of 10 minutes, which is optional. If you want to take that 10 minutes, you have to log out from the whole system and you can go outside the testing room, take your 10 minutes break and then come back. But in that 10 minutes your logging out and your logging in procedure also is calculated within that 10 minutes. So you wouldn't want to simply just take a 10-minute break. It doesn't really seem necessary, but it obviously depends on you, and if you really want to take it, you can go ahead for that. And after that 10 minutes is when you start your listening test. So the listening test goes on for about 30 to 40 minutes. So yeah, they say the whole test is for 3 hours, including the 10 minutes break, but obviously it depends on you. So when I gave my test, it took me about 2.5 hours to give the whole test. I didn't go for the 10-minute break option. So yeah, I finished the test in about 2.5 hours. So now speaking about the format of this test. So this test is very different as compared to the IELTS examination. And it's different because mainly the speaking test is not happening with a person physically being present in the room with you, whereas you're going to be sitting and talking into the computer screen. So that's how this test is different to the IELTS. And also there's like different formats for each individual component, and you need to be thorough and aware of each of those formats, because if you don't know what to expect in the examination, you're just going to be very flustered and stressed out, and you're just going to lose out on your marks. So I am not completely, like, I haven't by-hearted the different formats, so I'm just going to be reading it out from my phone, and I'll explain to you what happens in each of those formats. So the main exam basically starts with you logging in your details. So they'll give you like a paper with a username and a password. So you just type that in, and before you start the actual test there will be like multiple checks that will go on during the first half of the introduction. So basically your microphone is going to be checked, they're going to play some audio, you can adjust the volume according to your liking, and you can check if you can hear the voices clearly. The second thing that you can check is whether you're speaking into the mic really well and whether you can hear yourself clearly. So you get an option to record your own voice. And you can check the microphone as well. Then the font of the screen as well, you can adjust it based on your own liking. And once you've done all of these checks, you move on to the actual test. So before the actual test starts, there's this 1 minute of personal information. So they're just going to ask you to record yourself introducing yourself. So you just have to talk about just basically you just introduce yourself, so your name, your age, what you're studying or where you're working currently, and why you want to give the PTE examination. So it's like a very brief introduction of yourself, but this is not being marked, so you don't get any marks for this introduction. It's just like a basic warm-up before you start your actual test. So that's the first thing that you start with, and immediately after that is when you start the speaking sections. So in the speaking section, you'll get 5 different formats, and they all will come in the examination. There's no way that one of them will come and the other one will be skipped out. So you are going to be tested on all of those different formats. So you do need to practice each and every one of them. The order that these different formats come in your examination is not fixed, so you might get it in the same order or you might get a jumbled order. So usually the first thing that you start your test with is known as read aloud. So in read aloud, there's going to be a small passage appearing on the screen. You get about 30 seconds or 1 minute to just read through your passage, just get a bit comfortable with it, and then there will be a buzzer that goes off and you start recording your reading. So basically you're going to be judged on your reading as well as your speaking in this format. The next thing is going to be a repeat sentence. So the repeat sentence is where you're going to be hearing someone saying something. You will get 30 seconds and then you have to repeat it exactly the same way. So this one was quite tricky for me because the sentences just go really fast. So your memory and your listening skills are what will help you to score in this component. So the sentences might be really short or they might be really long. So you need to practice a lot for repeat sentences to be able to understand how you're going to be tackling the listening as well as the memorizing. The next thing that you get is describe image. So describe image could be a graph, could be a map, could be any random picture of a tree. So you get 30 seconds to 1 minute to just look at the image, try and get all the information that you can, and you need to start speaking about the image for about 1 minute or so. You need to just keep talking. That's what I learned from my experience. It doesn't matter if you're saying the right thing from the image or you're not. It doesn't have to be every single detail from the picture. You just have to speak in correct English with good grammar. That's all you need to focus on, and just talk about the image as much as you can. So for these speaking tests, for the speaking formats, basically for the read aloud, you'll get 30 seconds, you hear a buzzer, and that's when you start speaking, so it starts getting recorded. But for the repeat sentence, it goes really quick. So as soon as the voice recording is finished, you don't start speaking immediately because your recorder doesn't start yet. It starts after 3 seconds. So you need to make sure you're talking clearly and loudly once the buzzer goes off, because if you talk before it or if you take a pause of more than 3 seconds, the recorder stops. So you need to be very mindful with how you're speaking into the microphone and time it according to the timer on the screen. So for each of the component, you'll be able to see the voice recordings, how long they are, when you need to start, when the buzzer goes off, whether your voice has been recorded or not. All of that will be visible on the screen, as well as the overall examination time will also be visible on the top right corner of your screen. So after the describe image, you do get a retell lecture. So retell lecture is again going to be your listening as well as your speaking skills. So they'll play one of these lectures. Sometimes the audio is very bad. It's like someone is sitting 50 miles away and recording someone talking. So it's coming with a lot of disturbances. There's lots of noise in the background, but you need to be able to concentrate and focus on the lecturer. So you get like a notepad as well as an erasable pen. So you just keep taking notes of the important points that you can hear about the lecture, and you get about 30 seconds to prepare, and you start talking about the lecture. Basically, any of the writing and speaking tasks that you do have a certain format that you need to follow. So you need to have an intro, a body, and a conclusion, and it's the same thing when it comes to your listening, your speaking, and your writing. So you need to have that format, and you can find those different templates or different formats online on different websites, or even on the PTE preparation sites. So you can go and have a look at those, and that's how I had like a format set in my head. So no matter what image comes up or no matter what lecture they play, I will have a set format of how I need to speak or how I need to write. So the next thing after the retell lecture is answer short questions. So personally, I didn't understand the whole logic behind this format of the exam, because it doesn't test your English. Obviously they say it's for your vocabulary, but it also is more of your general knowledge. So certain times they might ask you really stupid questions like when you're sick, who would you visit? Would you go to a doctor or would you go to a painter? So you need to just give a one-word answer into your microphone. But sometimes they ask you really tough general knowledge questions, because which you might not have any idea about. So it's better for you to just practice and get familiarized with those type of questions. So these are all the formats that come for the speaking test. Then you're going to move on to the writing test. The writing has two sections in it. One is the summarize written text, and the second one is an essay. So the summarize of written text is basically you get a passage, you have to read through the passage, and you have to summarize it in one sentence. That's all. So you might get 2 or 3 of these kind of questions and just one essay question, or you might get just one summarized written text and 2 essays. So the essays are basically 250 to 300 words, and you just have a random topic that comes up. It could be agree, disagree, advantages, disadvantages, or it could be just a random question. So you just have to familiarize yourself with different essay topics, and like I mentioned in the previous section, you need to have a format of how you're going to write your essays. So you need to have a format of how you write your essays. So like I said, an introduction, a body paragraph, a second body paragraph, and then a conclusion. So there are lots of different places you can practice this online, and I'll talk about how I practice these questions in the end of this video. So this is all that you get for the writing and the speaking. Then you're going to be moving on to the reading section. So for the reading section, it's actually really difficult if you do not practice. You have to practice a lot of reading passages, so your reading speed increases as well, and your understanding of the language increases as well. So if you don't practice reading, it's going to be very tough for you to manage your time within the reading section. And the whole reading section is about 1 hour, or I think 40 minutes to 1 hour, and you have to decide how much time you're going to prioritize for each of those different formats in the reading exam. So if I'm going to be taking like 20 minutes for just one section in the reading exam, I'm not going to have any time left for the last section. So you need to be mindful. There will be a timer on the right hand side corner of your screen. So you need to understand how much time you need to give for each of those reading sections. So there's one multiple choice where you choose only one answer. There's one multiple choice where you might have multiple options to choose from. So it might be 2 or more options. The next one is reordering paragraphs. So there will be just small short sentences given to you, all jumbled up. You need to read through all those sentences and be able to make sense of which sentence comes first, which comes second, which comes third, fourth, and so on. So it will be like an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. So you need to reorder the paragraph in the correct way. If you make even a single mistake in that, like for example, if I place one of the sentences in number 1 option and the number 2 is wrong. So obviously your number 3 and your 4 are going to be wrong as well. So you'll just get 1 point for the first section that you dragged in correctly. So one of the filling the blanks option is when there's a small passage and there's different blanks within the passage, and there's a set of words at the bottom of your passage. So you need to read the whole paragraph, you need to be able to read the options and then drag the correct option into the blank. And the second filling the blank is where you're reading a sentence, you click on the blank and you'll get a multiple choice. So you just have to choose which is the correct, most correct option in those multiple choice options. So I think that is all you get in the reading section. Now after this reading section is when you get your 10-minute optional break. You can take it if you want to, don't take it if you don't want to, and then continue on to the listening section. So this is your last section of the exam. It goes on for about 30 to 40 minutes depending on your time, like I mentioned, depending on your speed. So the first section is summarize spoken text. So this is also judging your listening as well as your writing skills. So many of the components in this exam are marked on 2 of the areas. It could be listening and speaking, it could be listening and writing, it could be reading and writing. So there's like different combinations which you get marked on. So in the summarize spoken text, you will hear an audio and then you have to summarize it, maybe write down like 1 sentence. So while you're listening to the audio, you have to take notes of what the lecturer or what the person in the audio is speaking about, and then you get to summarize it in 1 sentence. The next thing is multiple choice again. Here you're going to be listening to an audio and they'll tell you if you need to select 1 answer or 2 answers. So in the audio you will be hearing maybe an interview between 2 people or just a discussion between 2 people, and there will be a question and 3 different options. So based on the audio that's going on, you need to tick the correct answers. So the next section is filling the blanks. Again, you're going to be listening to a certain audio. There will be different blanks between a passage and you just need to be typing the correct answers in. The next one is highlight correct summary. So there will be like 3 different summaries given to you, and you're going to be listening to a long audio, taking down notes of what the audio is talking about. And you're going to be highlighting, by highlighting I mean choosing a correct option from the 3 different summaries that have been displayed on the screen. The next thing is multiple choice, choose 1 option. So like I mentioned, there will be a section with choosing 2 or 3 options. There will be a section with choosing just 1 single option. Then there's a section called select missing words. It would be a passage given to you. You're going to be listening to the audio and you're going to be highlighting the missing words. There's also a section called highlight incorrect words. So in the passage there will be random words which are incorrect and they won't be playing in the audio. So you have to be focusing on the audio, listening to it and highlighting the incorrect words. And the last one is write from dictation. So this is basically like a dictation exam we used to give when we were younger and in school. So you have to just listen to the audio and there will be different blanks in the sentences and you just have to write down the different words in the blanks. So this is how your whole format of the test looks like. You need to be able to understand and practice and be aware of each and every section, because if you do not practice even one single format, you're going to be losing out on marks. Every single format is tested on the examination, so you cannot miss or skip any of these formats. So that brings me to how I prepared for my examination. So I had used an app and also a website called APE Uni. So they have a free section where you can practice all of the different components and the different formats within those components for free. But if you want to practice more, so you can obviously pay and practice on that website. So I was using the paid option. I had to pay about $10 or $20, and I was using the website to just get familiarized with each of the sections in there. So you can just devote 1 week for each of the components, or if you want, maybe just do 2 hours of each component every day. And also in the PTE examination, most of the questions get repeated every now and then. So if you practice and practice, you're going to be having the knowledge of different types of questions, and maybe you'll end up getting the same questions for your examination. APE Uni was one of the sections, one of the online websites that I was using. Another website that I was using was E2 Language, but I felt E2 Language wasn't as helpful as the APE Uni website. However, E2 Language is amazing when it comes to IELTS preparation. So if you want to prepare for your IELTS, use E2 Language, and they've got numerous practice sections. They've got papers for you to practice, they've got mock tests for you to practice. So E2 was much better for me when I did my IELTS, but for my PTE I found APE Uni's website much more helpful for me to practice. Another thing that's very useful is to just keep reading. It could be any random thing that you read. If you're into reading books, that's great. You can just read your books. That would help you to improve your reading speed, as well as improve your English language as a whole. Would help you build up your vocabulary, would help you to correct your grammar. So that was how I had just started increasing my speed. So another reason why I was able to score 90 in all of the 4 components was being able to practice the mock tests. So mock tests are very, very important, and I highly suggest that you practice giving a mock test before you go for the actual examination. So I had appeared for, I had booked in for my test for October 2020, but because of COVID and everything happening, they had to reschedule my test to December. So I just got lazy and I didn't want to study because I was already working and I had too many things to focus on. So from October to November, I did nothing. I actually didn't study at all. So my exam was on the 8th of December. So from the 8th of November to 8th of December is exactly 1 month when I actually started preparing. And even in those 30 days, I must have religiously studied for only maybe 10 or 15 days. I wasn't actually confident with the exam, and one of my friends had also appeared for the exam during that time, and she mentioned how giving the mock tests really helped her as well. So I went to the PTE official website, and you get to buy the mock tests on there. So it depends on whether you want to buy just 1 test, 2 tests, 3 or 4. So they have total of 4 tests that they offer online, and I had no time before the exam. I just had about 3 days left before the exam when I bought these tests, and obviously it's an extra expense over what you've already paid for the examination, but I was not confident giving the exam because, like I said, I hadn't studied a lot. The PTE, the whole system completely changed. Until like 3 days ago, it was 79 and above being the highest score that you could get. They changed it like 3 days before my exam, and they made it similar to the IELTS testing pattern. So the IELTS 8 was supposed to be PTE 84 and above. So from 79, they went up to 84, and I had to get a high score because I was hoping to apply for various different things with that score. So I just kept giving the mock test. I had 3 more tests left, so I gave the second one. My scores improved a little more. I gave the third one, it improved even more, and the fourth one was where I scored a 90 overall in my mock test. That's when I got the confidence, and I was also sure that I can score really well in my actual test. So the first time you give the mock test is where you get like a trailer of how the exam is actually going to be like. No matter how much you prepare, the examination ambience, the stress levels on that day just affect you to a very great extent. So that's why it's very important to give a mock test, and I would highly suggest everyone who is preparing for PTE to put in that extra money and just buy those mock tests online and give those tests before you go for the actual exam. So now speaking about the test environment. So obviously I was a bit nervous before I went in for the test because of COVID. Thankfully, there were less people in my room appearing for the test alongside me. There were about 8 people, I guess, who were around me, and some of them were just sitting next to me. There was a cubicle which was separating people from being too close to each other. So there were like people sitting next to me, there were people sitting behind me, and this was the first time I was going for the test, so I was a bit nervous. And you start off with the speaking section like I mentioned, and it was the most horrible test experience I have ever had. I felt really nervous, very anxious during the whole speaking test, because you have to be able to speak into the microphone, you also have to be able to listen at the same time and speak at the same time. And you're not just in your own space, you have so many people around you who are also doing the exact same test at the same time. They might be doing a different set of questions, but they're doing the exact same component. So while I was speaking into the microphone, I could hear people from all around me screaming into their microphones, and the test invigilators had at the start of the test mentioned to everyone that we need to be very mindful that there are other people appearing for the test as well, so make sure that we are not screaming. But there were many people who were just not bothered about others around them, and they were just very loud, which was so distracting for me personally. I just was so distracted during the first half, and it got me very anxious. But you have to be able to stay calm and to focus on your questions and your words that you're going to be using during that speaking test. So that was how the ambience was during the first half of my testing period. After the speaking is done, then it just gets very silent in the test center. You just have to focus on your writing, reading and listening. And in those sections as well, people are all minding their own business, so you don't have to worry about anything. But I'd say just be prepared for the worst case scenario, because now since COVID is getting better, there might be more people in the same room as you. So you need to be very calm, you need to be able to concentrate on your own test and focus on what you're doing. There will be people screaming, there'll be a lot of noise in the background, but just stay calm. So yeah, those are the few tips that I can give you for the exam. Watch different YouTube videos for you to improve your language as well, your listening skills, your speaking skills. So overall, I'd say this test is very easy to score. You just need to devote probably 2 or 3 weeks of your time towards learning for this test. If you're very good at English, maybe just 1 week should be enough for you to prepare. If your language is a little messed up, you can take about 2 to 3 weeks or even a month to practice and improve your language for this test. So that was all about my experience. I hope this video was helpful to you in some way. If it was, please don't forget to give this video a big fat thumbs up, and also subscribe for more such videos, because I do make videos of me sharing my experiences every now and then. And also don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I upload a new video. If you do have any suggestions of what kind of videos you'd like to watch next, please leave it in the comment section below so I can make those videos for you guys. And that was it for today. I hope to see you guys in my next one. Until then, peace and love. Bye.